Well, very warm welcome to you all, family. Let's begin with our acknowledgements of God and Guru's presence here with us. And then a couple of changing breaths and a prayer together. Infinite beloved, beloved Métis Yogananda, Mahasaya Dharmaji. We are so happy and grateful to gather together in your presence this day to continue expanding in our understanding of finding and keeping the joy, being full of wonderment in all things. Help us to open our hearts and our minds to you, allowing ourselves to be more who we truly are, allowing Christ's power to raise itself and the Holy Spirit to work through us for the good of ourselves, but also for the good of all of life. May that joyous love, light, peace energy flow out, being available to every single one throughout your whole creation, and uplifting all who will also allow it to do so. Your will, always. Thank you once again for joining us. It's such a joy to see all the little boxes again. Before we start looking at the topics today, I wanted to remind you all that Yogananda and I have been inspired to come together in what we feel is an offering of experiences from our own lives. And please do remember that we are only able to speak and convey the essence that Métis Yoganandaji brings through at the level of our understanding today. And so you may even see that as we go through the gatherings and things, even Yogananda and I are helping each other to see more deeply from moment to moment. So certainly take what fits for you, but always, always, always go back to listening to or reading Métis Yoganandaji's teachings directly, because, of course, in the essence as spoken or written by her is the entire depth. So always go back to God and Guru for your further progress. And thank you so much for the feedback that we've had from some of you from last week. I will say that Yogananda and I both knew it was going to be a very full session, and even can foresee there's so much more coming over the long term. So don't feel like this is just something, and if you haven't got it in the first week, no, we're just barely starting, remember. And so I did go back and rewatch the gathering just to see what points we had covered, where we might want to go next. And honestly, I found more than 60 little snippets that I felt if you took even one of those, it could enhance things for you. So I will encourage you as well. That's why Yogananda and I put our hands up and let ourselves be recorded. Because we did feel that there would be so much and that you might want to go back to be able to take deeper notes or stop it and pause and think about something or whatever. So please do feel free to rewatch it and take more and more out of it. And any thoughts there, Mary Nanda, before we go on to some of the questions that we were posed this week?
No, I think you've said it, Joanne. I think it's everybody learning to be themselves and taking what fits for them at this moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Super. Mm-hmm. Super. So one question, understandably, that was brought back to us by a few people was, in essence, how to keep joyful when the tests come, and particularly when we find that we've fallen back into some old patterns or habits. And I'm not sure if you are regular readers yet of Live in the Light. If you're not, I highly recommend it because honestly, there is so much in every single day, and a number of the readings between May 1st and today were very relevant. So in a lead-in to my answer to that question, I'll read to you from May 6th. If a moment in one's personal performance is lost, it helps to have a look at the moment before it to help set up and strengthen the troubling area so that the balance can be corrected. All's well that ends well. Thanks be to God. So for myself, how that relates is what I've found in this last year when I've really been studying this is, again, the concept of that I'm lovably human. Not that I have all these terrible, terrible things or I'm some terrible, terrible person, right? Lovably human. I have some patterns that take me away from who I really am. And when I find one of those patterns has been activated, I look for the information, right? Not the terrible lack in myself, but the piece of information that's showing me something I needed to learn so that I could see it, change it, and do differently in the future. If you haven't already come across this idea, when we fall away from who we really are and we're feeling uncomfortable, some of us go to a category of activity that people term numb, avoid, and distract. So there's these patterns that we do when we're trying to not listen to the ego talking about ego having been running the show. So the way that I tend to numb, avoid, and distract is I'll watch videos from the public TV station, PBS here in the US. So it's educational stuff. It's not the worst thing in the world. However, I tend to watch too many of them, one after the other. And so eventually I pull myself out of that and go, okay, why did I watch 3 in a row when I really didn't intend to do that? And I go, oh, right. Okay, that's my tendency to numb, avoid, and distract. So let me have a think. What happened today? Why would I have fallen into that pattern of watching too much and gotten out of balance, right? Because that's out of balance. If I set to watch 1 and now I've watched 3, I wasn't in charge. So what was it that set me off balance? And so I'll think back and I'll think, oh, right, that interaction, when I went through that interaction, I didn't really feel peaceful and I didn't really use my tools to really stop and look, rebalance myself, and then go forward. So I'm like, oh yeah, that sort of thing does tend to kind of hook me. So, okay, right, more information. Okay, that was better than the last time I fell into that pattern, right? So I could see the progress that I've made and I can have joy in the fact that I did now stop as soon as I noticed that I wasn't myself. I stopped and I looked, and now I've taken the lesson and I've made that new resolution to go forward with this new piece of information. Oh, yeah, that sort of thing. And then I get on with it again. And I say, well, God, I need your blessing then, because, here I am once again, lovably human, didn't stop and use my tools well enough, or whatever it is. So that's just an example of it. But, the teachings are all there. And if you really look into how many times Mata Yogananda Ji has talked about all the ways that we fall into being who we're not, she knew this was going to be a part of our journey. She's left us so many little loving tidbits about, oh, well, pick yourself up and keep going. So we're really well known and accepted exactly as we are, lovably human, and totally given encouragement. So if in that moment, when you find the information, you go and you say, oh, I'm so sorry, here I am again. Please, will you help me do better next time? Right? That's us asking, and then let yourself be helped to go forward. If you let your ego talk all about that, well, then you're in the downward spiral again. So hopefully that helps. Do you have any other thoughts about that, Mariananda?
Yeah, I relate to that completely. I was also just thinking of something that I know has been a pattern of mine. I don't know if anyone here tonight might relate to this. You have an experience of, you're talking particularly at the moment about keeping the joy. So you have an experience that you feel is joyful, that uplifts you, you feel in a good space, you feel you're being your true self. And then it goes and you find yourself falling back into a pattern that you feel is your usual you. And that's where I think I've slipped in the past, hopefully working through that one now, because I've sort of thought, oh, okay, that was lovely. I had that upliftment, that bubble of joy, but this is where I'm at the moment. And I'm not giving myself a chance to take a complete step forward and saying, no, this is who I am. Not this person that has that tendency or that memory of who I am. This is who I am. I'm not going to let myself down now. I'm going to choose to let joy manifest through me, because I feel joy, God, is waiting to manifest more through me. So I'm not going to be satisfied with just saying, oh, okay, that was a wonderful experience, but now I'm back to this is how it is. Does anybody relate to that? Yeah, does that sound familiar to anybody? So I think, yeah, if that's helpful, then see what works for you. But once I made my mind up to be determinedly joyful with everything, and you can strengthen the mind with all the ways as pure meditators we have. You can strengthen, or I've strengthened my mind, and I know you can do the same, and I'm sure you are, where we get to the point where we have no doubt. We have no doubt that this is our birthright. Joy is there, God is there, and how we experience it will be different. We've got however many people here, 13, 14 people. We'll all experience it differently because God manifests through us all differently. So for Joanne, it might be a certain way. For me, it might be another way. For you, it might be a quiet bubble of joy. It doesn't matter. It's just own your bubble, own who you are and who you're becoming, and decide, make your mind up that that's the level that you want to maintain. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you, Joan.
And just to follow on, I agree with Mary and Anda that I have allowed myself to really embrace that this is who I am. It is my birthright. I have no doubt. However, that doesn't mean that clouds of old stuff don't go by periodically, because I've stored plenty of things before I realized this, right? You go through experiences in life, do your best with it, store some of it. So remember that as we continue to meditate and the light is coming in and replacing all the dark bits, sometimes a big bunch of dark bits or little bits of dark bits need to go by. Or I've set things into motion previously that are going by this way. And so it doesn't mean that I feel it all the time, right? There's plenty of times where I might feel something unlike joy, but I don't dwell upon that. And I'm disavowing it as who I am, and I'm affirming who I am and asking for help and letting myself be helped. Because honestly, if we were talking about how much I've achieved on my own, there's no way I'd be here. It's totally by grace, right? Letting that 75% be done with and through and for me, that it's happening. Any other thoughts there?
No, I agree. I think it's how we look at our tests, isn't it? You know, attitude of mind to them. You know, Gurudeva's training way back in the early days was, it's a joyful journey if I point something out to you that needs looking at and changing. I didn't always see it as a joy at the time. I believed Gurudeva that it should be. So there was a bit of me that maybe probably beat myself up a bit that I was a bit ouchy when it was pointed out and a bit bristly. But I think if we can change our attitude of mind to the tests, then we will see them as really positive strengtheners instead of, oops, there's a trip up. Oops, that's my chance to go back down again. You know, it's attitude of mind to them. And it's doing it in the moment of time, because we're all very clever when it's hindsight. Oh yeah, that's what I could have done. Oh, I didn't think to look at it that way. And often when we look back, we do find, don't we, that our tests have been powerful. You know, we've looked back and thought, oh, I was really struggling with that, but just look at the opportunity it's given me to grow in some way. As Meitaji says, you know, find the joy in the most difficult thing you have to do. And even if we don't immediately feel the wholeness, as Joanne said, with the level that we are, even if we don't feel the wholeness of that joy at that moment, we're doing our best so that we're letting God do the rest. It's when we give up and shut the door that we stay put. So yeah, thank you for that, Jo.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the thought about, oh, I didn't necessarily see it that way at the time. That's the thing that I feel will be an aspect of the social community, the online community that's coming soon, because when we are struggling with something and we claim that we're so happy and grateful that God and Guru are working this thing to our highest good, and ask for support around, let's say, faith. Let's say I'm having a test with my faith today. I'm doubting. Then I'll claim that I'm so happy and grateful it's being worked to my highest good, and looking for support around faith. And then that's when other community members might say, oh, yes, and I totally see that and believe that with and for you, that I have faith. And then they might say, this is my favorite faith passage from Meta Yogananda Ji. And so then by collecting all these different ways of finding faith, that may be that one other person sees the one that just like illuminates it for me right then. So I really do understand the power of having someone else be able to reflect back from a positive view what I think is so difficult to work around right then. So it does really help when someone else is able to say, try this way of thinking about that test that's come. Mhm. And as Mary Nanda was, talking about, we've all been talking about, really, it comes down to resisting being who we are. Our true joy is when we are flowing with our unique manifestation of God through us. So it is going to look different one to the next. And so a lot of it is about learning how to feel that flow. And for some of us who have the blessing and the training to be pure spiritual healers or intuitive counselors and coaches or teachers of some of the beautiful teachings that Lady Yogananda she's left us, oftentimes because then we're being of service to someone else, we're uplifted and helped to allow that flow to come through us even more than we could just on our own. So if any of you can relate to that feeling of flow, or if you're not trained in any of these things, maybe you're a parent and something's happening for a child of yours and you are called to, out of your compassion, help them with it, whether it's they, injured themselves and you're helping them care for the injury, or whether they're struggling with something and some wisdom suddenly comes through you to help them to see more deeply. Or you spend time in prayer, praying for the world situation, whatever it is, when we're allowing God through us to help other people, we're uplifted and help beyond it. And so ideally, as we deepen and deepen this expression of God through us, if you have created a separation of, well, that's me when I'm a healer, but now this is just me, then you're missing an opportunity to be in that flow. Of course, it's going to have like a different quality to it and perhaps a different level of openness, different rate of flow. When you're giving healing, it's like pouring through, right? But we can be in that flow all the time, as long as we don't separate it. And as long as ego is not going, oh, well, yeah, no, I don't really want to do that. I'm not so sure. I sort of do, but no, I don't. That's how we can get into resistance. And sometimes we turn right around and run right away. And I call that being in reverse. So some ways of thinking, the resistance is, oh, I sort of want to, but I'm not sure. The reverse thinking would be, oh, poor me, life's so terrible, whatever, right? When we're really, in a way, just repelling with our thoughts and words and actions. And that's really where the pain is, right? If you're struggling with feeling really miserable, which literally I do on a fairly regular basis still, I have bubbles of stuff come up, ungodlike thinking that's been stored, old patterns, things I've taken on from conditioning from other people, ways of thinking about things, they bubble up and they are really painful. And so once I find that I'm in that pain, I stop and go, okay, this pain is not who I am. So where is the wrong thought? And I'm searching out and asking God and Guru for help. And I mentioned in the last talk that there's times where I'm like weepy, like really weeping about something, expressing the thoughts that are behind it, but while doing that, saying, this is not my truth. This is not my truth. This is not my truth. This is going because I'm so happy and grateful. This is being worked to my highest good. And sometimes I do need to voice them. again, I said I'd do it either direct with Made Yogananda or with someone who can hold the space, knowing that positivity is coming out of this. This isn't who I am. They're not going to collude with my ego and say, yeah, this is really terrible what's happening for you, right? They're just going to hold the space so I can vocalize it, let it come up and out, see it, look for the wrong thoughts, and then turn it around. So that's another beautiful part of this journey, is to start to feel when you're not feeling the joy. Why is that? Where is what I like to think of either as wrong thinking, or really it's like ungodlike thinking, because I've disconnected from who I am and I'm thinking some things that are not true. And I'm needing help possibly to see the situation differently, which I don't always receive that information inwardly immediately. But by claiming that this is going to go, and I don't keep focusing on it, I might vocalize it as it's going by, but I don't keep telling myself that. I'm claiming, oh, thank God I'm progressing, because yeah, this is not who I am. This is going. And then I continue on. I'd use my tools if I'd gotten into a big bubble, bursting and weeping and whatever. Use my tools, get myself situated. And then, honestly, sometimes I'll go down the road. We live out in the country here. It's not a very busy road. And so particularly once I get off the little paved section and onto the dirt roads, there's hardly any traffic. So then honestly, I might be thinking, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you with every step. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Even though I don't know why yet, I'm just claiming gratitude for it. Or I might be thinking, God's will, God's will, God's will, God's will, God's will, God's will. And that's a way for me to get that positive vibration back, even if I don't know why yet. And I might walk a while like that, but it really does help. And usually by the time I come back, I walk, and then by the time I'm coming back, I really am feeling it, because at the beginning, I'm not really feeling it. Any thoughts there, Mariananda?
I think that's a wonderful example, really, isn't it? That really works for you, and I can really feel what you're saying there. And I suppose what I'm feeling is it's a lot of information that's coming to everybody, and there will be a chance when we finish the recording,
Yes.
probably after half an hour, for you to come forward and ask for clarification or any questions on anything. So all the information that's coming at you, which is from our experience or what we're perceiving you might need help with from some of the feedback, then please do make a mental note or a physical note, so that you're not just absorbing a lot of things that we're saying. It's really have a look at where your thoughts are and see where you feel you need the help, with anything to do with holding the joy and finding your progress. I suppose just what comes to mind is, as we said last week, God manifests in so many different ways to all of us. It won't necessarily be the same way for everybody. It's joy for some people, and there can be joy in having a deep peace. There can be joy in feeling love, unconditional love, and that might be something you've witnessed in nature or on any aspect of creation, really. Or it might be you have an inspiration and you feel great joy in that inspiration. Maybe you're teaching yoga, maybe you're doing something different, some piece of work, but you've had a divine inspiration that's brought joy. So it's just to keep our minds open, that there isn't just one way. There's so many ways, that just by God's name being the infinite, obviously there's infinite ways that God's going to manifest for us all. But really what we're saying is we can choose to really vibrate at a higher level because of all the depth that Gurudev has given us. There is so much depth in every single phrase, really, of her books, of her CDs, you know, and just the simplicity of the way that Gurudeva has put these things across is just so powerful, because we can all buy lots of different books by people that know a certain amount about a little few things, and they're usually really wordy and sometimes very intellectual. But to have a master that keeps it really simple, cuts through all of the ego and just keeps it simple there. And you know, Gurudeva was very simple, how she said, be yourself. You know, find and keep that joy. It's important. She didn't say go out there and look. You know, find it. So yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that's helpful for everybody. I so much like it when people can just talk back, and I know how to come back with things. But Joanne and I have obviously got an information that we want to get across, and there will be time for you to do that shortly anyway. Mm-hmm. And it's lovely that Joanne gives such personal examples of how she's stuck with it and worked through it, and how it's working for her. So that's an inspiration, isn't it, in itself? Thank you, Joanne.
And I will affirm again, it's been, now that I look back, it's been a joyful journey, but it has taken a while. At the very beginning, literally, I would set aside special time on Sundays, and often every single Sunday I was saying, why is it so hard to be happy? And so if I can come from that to this, you can too, no matter what. And I'm just intending that any of these little snippets that give you another way to see deeper into Guruji's teachings, it'd be beautiful if you take any of it and speed up the process for yourselves. So yes, watch for feeling that flow. And for me, often, Yogananda was talking last time about just relaxing. And I literally now notice my physical body tense up when I get into resistance or reverse. And so however it is that you start to notice, whether you notice that you're starting to feel pained, or you feel your heart shut down, or you notice the negative thinking that goes on, or you're tense, or just start to pay attention to what feels like flow to you. And Guruji's saying, you know, feeling that surge when the daffodils come out in spring, you know, that's how we're meant to live, in that open-hearted, beautiful flow. And as Yogananda said, you know, it's like we can get to a level, and just recently I was just so delighted to understand that even that level isn't all of it. So even if I don't dip down, if we're to have ever new joy, then even that level can become like neutral, because it's time to go deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's just an amazing journey, and I'm so happy and grateful you're all here and gathering with us, so that as family together, we're going to move these amazing mountains. Any final thoughts from you, Yogananda, before we finish together?
Gosh, there's so much really, isn't there?
Yes.
I think I touched last week on making space for God.
Yes.
We know that we're all meditators, and we know how to make time to connect with the infinite. But just in everyday life, you know, find maybe a phrase that works for you, you know, something like magical moments or sacred seconds. When I taught the children over in the local school, we called it peace snacks, because they like the idea of a snack. So we called them peace snacks, you know, and just making the most of the seconds during the day where you can just choose to just, you might just say, thank you, God, or I love you, Gurudeva, or gosh, that was a hard one, or, you know, or whatever it is, just keeping the connection and allowing yourself just to have a pause in the thinking after that. Because for me, I found it's in those spaces that just come, and I know I've used the phrase just being, and I don't mean I just sit Buddha-like, you know, I have lots of stuff I need to do, but in that space is almost where I can get an inspiration, or where I feel the divine grace or a bubble of joy. And I sometimes look back and think, oh, what did I do to deserve that? How did I manage to work that one? You know, and of course I didn't do any of it, but that's the way my mind was thinking. Oh, I want this again. What did I do there? But it's just allowing that space for yourself, and everybody can do that. I feel just making your mind up that we're going to let God in a bit more, just to everyday things. And the children loved the peace snacks. The teacher told me afterwards, you know, they'd come in from their playtime all sort of really high, and they'd sit down and do a breath and just close their eyes and just think peace before they ate their snacks, you know. So whatever works for you.
Yes. And I'll just share one more thing. If you're like me and you find that you feel like maybe you don't have enough time for a peace snack, then if you go to Vibrations of Love, one of Meta Yoganandaji's song soul chant collections, Vibrations of Love, listen to what she says before the world as one. Because one of the last things she says is, life allows you time to make the most of yourself. And I need to hear that a lot. So if you're struggling with making time to use your tools or take a breath or anything, just play that in your mind and let Guruji help you relax down in and do what you need to do. So let's finish there. Like Mariananta mentioned, we'll stay on afterwards after I turn the recording off. But let's finish there together with our acknowledgements and a prayer, and then we'll sing a song together before we finish the recording. Infinite beloved, Métis Yogananda, Mahasaya Dharmaji, thank you for the just amazing abundance that you have left us and are ever feeding us with. We pray that all of these beautiful, inspired words that you've left us may continue to expand our understanding and our capacity to allow our true self to be incarnated through these bodies. And we pray that in doing so, all of life may benefit as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are eternally grateful.
I have often been asked to let these songs and chants be recorded, and here they are. But I do believe we should sing devotional songs with great joy and love in our hearts. Then and only then will it be well and truly heard by the Infinite Beloved. It doesn't matter what our voices sound like to others. Sing from your heart. Sing with your whole being in joyous anticipation of being at one with the Divine Presence and Life Force, God. Sing and dance as one with life, knowing that you are love and peace. We need to tell and share of our divine love, for we are all made to give and receive this love. I am love. I am love, I am peace, we are love. I am love, I am peace, we are love. I am love, I am peace, I am love, I am peace, I am love, I am peace, we are love. I am love, I am peace, we are love. I am love, I am peace, we are love. I am love, I am peace, I am love, I am peace, I am love, I am peace, we are love. I am love, I am peace, we are love. I am love, I am peace, we are love. I am love, I am peace, I am love, I am peace, I am love.